Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey guys, welcome back to Big Fat Real Estate Checks. I am Marco Kozlowski, your host, with Gabriel Araish and Francesco Galluccio will be joining us today on something that I dropped on the last podcast, which is what happened when I did a sandwich lease option and actually got arrested. They're not necessarily correlated, but it's a really good horror story based on me not knowing what the hell to do and wishing I had someone to guide me, help me, and actually mentor me through some pretty sticky situations. Now, of course, we do this podcast for you to give you as much value as possible, not to scare the shit out of you. This has nothing to do, the situation has nothing really to do with the sandwich lease option, of course. It is mostly based on my inability to handle what happened as things started unraveling, which you'll see in this story. Now, this is a true story. I have not shared this with anyone for a very long time, and but you know what? Fuck it. I might as well just tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Including us.
Why not?
Including us. We don't know.
And I'm shocked that I've never told you this story because
this would have changed everything on our relationship.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, you know some worse stories of things that I've been through.
I do.
And this is definitely this is definitely a scary one for sure, specifically because I was so green. Now, before we get into it, of course, if you have not listened to the first 10 podcasts, please do. That really shapes the understanding of what asset-based lending is, what our philosophy is. We want to help as many humans as possible. And you don't need money to get involved in real estate. You just need skills and tools. And something that we're very passionate about, all three of us, is really how to give back and really help those that want to be helped with that help, that information, and that kick in the ass if necessary, or that guiding light when you need it as mentors. And I'm very delighted to have crossed paths with both Frank and Gabe, both students of mine that have shown their weight in gold, really, in not only their work ethic and their contributions to their own lives and their families and their priorities being, as far as I'm concerned, in the right place, but have been awesome to do business with. Very hard to find good people that have all your values pretty much aligned, as we all do. And we've done some really amazing things together, and I'm very blessed to have both of these humans in my life. And it's important for you to find great people in your life that are going to hold you to a higher level and really push you and hold you accountable as well. So it's really good to have that family that you choose, because sometimes your family is not going to necessarily lift you up. Some are like crabs in a bucket pulling you down. And sadly, family you don't necessarily choose, but the friends are the family that you do choose. So just remember that. So again, like it, love it, share it. Please subscribe to our podcast on wherever you're listening to this, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are being broadcast. So looking forward to a long relationship with you as well as the listener. Okay, so on the last podcast that we did, we discussed options, and Frank was doing lease options to sell. Gabe had given a great example of Disney and how he scooped up a ton of land on the DL and was able to really get hundreds and hundreds of acres in the south of Orlando, which was useless land. And I dropped a story on how I really pretty much screwed the pooch and made some terrible mistakes doing a lease option, a sandwich lease option specifically. Just a quick overview of what that is I was looking for folks that wanted to rent their property, asked them if they wanted to sell, then did a lease with an option to buy from a potential seller on a property, and then at a discount, of course, and then I would sell that property for future value on a lease option, sandwiching myself in between. And I did that for a few years, very, very successfully, getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 deposits. And this is back in 2000, and made a living out of that as a Canadian, with no social security number, no green card, no papers, nothing. I was just making money in the US as a Canadian. Now, one of these, first of all, boys, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Listener and Gabe, Frank, are you ready for this?
We're ready.
I got my coffee. I'm just missing the popcorn, but yes.
Yeah. Well, this is when I was living. Where was I living? The area was called Sandestin. It's I guess it's near Hunters Creek area. If you're familiar with Orlando, it's in the Hunters Creek sort of area, which is in South Orlando. And at least, man, it's been so long I don't remember where it is, but I think it's in that area.
We'll just say Orlando.
It was on Sandestin. I do remember the name of the street because actually. I as soon as a property went up for rent in the area, I would actually just go talk to the seller and discuss it face to face. So it was very easy to stay in the same community. So I ended up getting in the same community that I was in 3 properties doing sandwich lease options. And this particular seller wanted to move, got a great opportunity on the property. I think the rent I was paying him at the time was like $800, and I would negotiate 3 months of free rent because I was positioning myself as someone that relocated executives, and I was in my early 20s at this time. This is 2001, I think, or this is maybe 2001. This is really early in my career. And so how old was I? I was 72, 28? No?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, about 20 years, buddy.
Yeah.
I can't do the math.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a young whippersnapper, and so got this property and almost immediately found a retired cop to get into the property, and he gave $15,000 deposit. Now I had negotiated a 3-month grace period with the seller, and I think within a week of me getting the paperwork together with the original seller, the guy was paying $1,200. So there's a $400 spread there, right, between $800 and $1,200 and $15,000 down. So it was a pretty good day. So I'm really happy. Go through the process of the application and everything that I was to do. Got all his info and all his wife's information, and they were retired couple, very very nice. Remember going to a Denny's to get this thing all put together, and the guy gave me a certified check for $15,000 and asked if he could improve the property. If he could put new tile and just wanted to improve the property because this was the home that they were going to be in. They had just moved from Chicago, retired cop, and said, I just want to make this my home, and I really want to make this mine. And do you mind? I said, well, let me just ask my partner because I don't own this place, right? I have to ask the owner. So asked the owner, do you mind if we make improvements to the property? He says, I don't care. So I got that in writing. So far so good, right? I'm following
protocol,
the steps I thought would make sense, and yeah. Just right. I don't want to have anyone do anything to the property without permission because it's not my property. So far, so good. So the first of the next month goes by and no rent comes in from this gentleman, this retired policeman. Now, I am Canadian, as you both are, but I never had this happen before. And I didn't know how to handle someone not paying rent. And I was not the human that I am today where excuses were fine for me, right? Oh, we haven't gotten our retirement check in, we're going to be a little bit late. We're good for it. We gave you $15,000. I'm sure, you'll let us go this one time, we'll take care of it. We just can't do it right now. And this went on for 3 months.
Oh my God.
Of no payment. All right. Now, luckily, right, I have no payments to make to the owner, but this is coming. Now, I already got a $15,000 check, but that is for the option, not for the rents. So I felt bad for him because he couldn't pay. That's kind of where I was
mindset
mentally, at that point, right? I feel bad, can't pay, oh my gosh. But the problem is now a precedence is set and I don't know what to do because he's now so far behind. I'm now panicking because that $15,000 that I got actually paid bills that I had to pay, right? I was living paycheck to paycheck at that time, and $15,000 went by pretty quick. If you're pretty broke and you owe a lot of people a lot of money, that $15,000 goes like that. I don't know if you can relate to that if you're listening, but you suddenly get some cash. It goes away very, very fast, especially with 4 kids to feed. So I'm now like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, don't know what to do. And I'm still with my first wife, and she's like, you gotta, evict him. He's taking advantage of you. You're being a big pussy. Why are you being treated this way? And she was right. And so I got up the balls to actually call him and say, listen, man, you haven't paid for 3 months. I need the money by Friday or I'm going to have to start evicting you. And that's just what I have to do. And silence on the other end of the phone. He says, understood. And then he hangs up the phone. And this was on a Tuesday. So Friday, I call and I say, do you have the money? He says, yeah, I have something for you. Why don't you come over?
Oh boy.
Can you come over?
I hope you brought reinforcements on that.
Well, you already see where this is going.
Yeah.
I did not see where this is going.
We would have had Guido Giuseppe there too.
So he says, I'm going to be ready for you around 2:00. Can you come around 2? And again, this is exactly the same neighborhood as I live, like around the corner. Like I would say, like 100 meters, 300 feet. So it's not very far. A football field away, basically. Got it? Is that right?
No, but it's fine. It's 100 yards.
It's 100 yards.
It's 100 yards. So it's half a football field. So 50 yards, whatever. It's not far.
Yeah,
it's walkable.
It's walkable.
All right. Or runnable if you're in shape. So I hop into my car. I didn't even want to walk. I guess
round is a shape.
You're talking about
round is a shape. Yeah. Now the reason I wanted to get into my car is because I had all my files and everything was in my car. I was a mobile person at that point, and I was actually driving a candy apple red Corvette that I got in a deal prior. So I was really proud of my car. It was status for me. So I was all impressed that I got a free car with a deal and all excited about it. Anyway. So I like to show off at the time, which is the opposite of what I do now. But anywho, so go to the property and knock on the door, and I have my files with me, my receipt book, and everything else. And he invites me in. So, you're a little bit early, but that's fine. Come on in. And it's me and him and his wife, right? Mm-hmm. So I come in. As soon as I come in, he steps behind me. He shuts the door, and then he starts jumping on me, right? And he starts beating me as hard as he can in the back of the head and the face.
Wow.
Okay? He's attacking me. I'm attacked. And his wife is like, get him, get him, get him, get him. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? And I'm at this point pretty terrified, right? I'm completely caught by surprise. Now, I know how to handle myself. For those of you that don't know, I was selected to be on the Canadian Judo Olympic team. So I was a lot bigger then than I am now in the shoulders and in the legs. And I just flipped him over my shoulder. He landed on the kitchen island because we were, going back and forth, and I'm trying to evade, and he's landing some pretty good punches. And I flip him onto the island, which collapses because I flip him pretty hard on the island. As soon as he's let go, I start running out of the house, and I hear 2 gunshots, pop, pop, pow, pow, like very loud, right? I've never heard a gun go off in a house. It's extremely loud, all right? I am now convinced I've been hurt. I'm dead. It's over. I go out. I hop into my car. I don't even know how I found my car keys, but I spin out of there, and I am
gonzo,
shaking, and I am terrified. Okay?
I can imagine.
I'm even getting like dry mouth just by thinking about it. It was really, really scary. So,
glad you didn't walk
holy
there.
Shit.
Now, I don't know if I said, but my wife before I left said, "Don't go. It's a trap. You can't go. Don't go. Just put a notice on there. Don't go in." And to give credit to Karen, my first wife, who we still have a very good relationship with, she's cool. And anyway, she told me not to go. I did. And I went into the house, which I shouldn't have. And I was attacked. And I left quickly. Go into the house. Karen looks at me. I'm white as she said, "What happened?" I start explaining to it. I have tears running down my eyes. I'm shaking because of the adrenaline. And, I'm bruised. And I'm like, oh, my God, like I've just almost been killed. And she asked, like, did you hear gunshots? I'm like, yeah, that was in the house. So she heard it from her house. The whole neighborhood heard it. So she gives me the phone and says, call 911. And I'm like, what's the number? Right? Because I'm that fucked up that I don't know what 911 is. Right? I'm in I've never been through a life and death situation like this. You might be listening to this and calling me a big pussy. I'll take it. I was. And I just didn't know how to react. So I finally call 911. I explain what's going on. And as I'm on the phone, I see a cruiser, a police cruiser, drive by very slowly. And I'm like, oh, they're already here. Thank God. So I run out of the house. I flag them down. I'm like, I'm on the call with 911. I've just been attacked by one of my tenants. And he stops me, says, are you Marco? And I'm like, yes. He says, do you live at this house? I said, no, I live at this one over here. So he says, okay. So then he takes the hand that is in my phone. He puts me into an arm bar, puts me in handcuffs, and says, you're under arrest for attacking your tenant. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was attacked by the tenant. He says, save it for the judge, is what he says. So now I'm in handcuffs on the floor, like not understanding what the fuck is going on. Then the couple comes in with big smiles on their face, right? And says, this guy's a fraud. We did a title search on the property. He doesn't own the property. He sold us a property that he doesn't own. We gave that motherfucker $15,000. Doesn't even own it. I want him in prison. And he's attacked us. He came in demanding our rent. We said no. And both of them had the same story.
Yeah, of course.
So it was 2 against
premeditated, yeah.
1, right? Now, this guy was actually on his way, I found out about this later, to actually be in the house to arrest me when I was there. So I had left prior. That few minutes that I was early was the few minutes that he needed to get there. So he already knew who these people were, because the way they were talking, I'm like, they were joking around with each other as if they knew each other. So now, again, Canadian, not understanding how things work, I go into the police cruiser. They arrest me for assault and battery, which is a felony, and damage over $1,500 to personal property, another felony, 2 felonies. Now, if I was convicted, I found out later that I would be most likely banned from being in the United States forever. And if I was convicted, I could be going to prison for, for whatever the sentence allowed. So in the police cruiser, the cop starts asking me questions, right? And I'm like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Canada. Oh, do you go back to Canada? Yeah, I go back and forth. Are you in real estate? Yeah, I do real estate. I buy and I do lease options. I'm explaining what I'm doing. And I'm basically just explaining, not realizing that everything that I'm saying is going to be used against me, right? And so I get processed in I guess in jail. They put you in jail first, and then you get a hearing, which is supposed to be within 24 hours. But because I go back and forth from Canada, I don't have a real estate license, because he asked me, do I have a real estate license? No, you don't need one. Here's why. I have a financial interest in the property. That's not what he wanted to hear. So he just wanted to hear what he wanted to hear. Sure. And again, this is, nothing against cops at all. It's just, I know this was premeditated in a way where I was supposed to be somewhere else, and they're just nailing the coffin, closed. And basically said to the judge, this guy's a flight risk. As soon as you let him go, he's going back to Canada. That's what he said. And, guy doesn't have a real estate license. He's committing fraud. He's taking good, cops' money, retirement cash. And he clearly is a menace to society, and he's a flight risk. I didn't actually get to see the judge to see what my bail would be for 3 days, and it's usually 24 hours. So that was a problem. And because I was a flight risk, it was $100,000 bail. Wow. Now, $100,000 bail when you have very little money it might as well be $10 million. Yeah. I didn't have it. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have connections. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember going to sleep, saying, I'm just going to go to sleep, and I'm going to just wait for the, and I was crying this whole time. Like I said, I wouldn't do well in jail at all. And I went to sleep. I remember having all these dreams, and then waking up going, okay, that must've been a few hours. It was 10 minutes. All right. And I'm like, I'm going to die here, because the longest dream I've ever had was 10 minutes. Finally got seen, $100,000 bail, and didn't know what I was going to do. But so from another lease option that I did, I remember one of the sellers actually had a sister that was a lawyer. So I actually spoke to basically someone that I had done business with that, didn't think that I was a scumbag. And she helped me through this, thankfully. And I had to pledge a property that had that had a value of at least $100,000. And thankfully I had just closed on one 2 weeks before. I had bought a property on Grayson Avenue. I'll never forget this. So I had to pledge this Grayson Avenue property and pledge it to, and it's how that works is you either give them $10,000 or you pledge a property, and if you make bail, they release the property. But if you make bail with either cash or with the property, so ended up getting out of that, and it didn't look good. I went to a lawyer. Says your case is weak. You have no witnesses. It's 2 people against you. You're going to get convicted. Then I went to many attorneys, and they all said the same thing. And I'm like, well, what is that going to mean to my ability to actually get a green card eventually? Because that's what I want to do. I want to live here and work here and, prosper here. And they're like, never going to happen. You're basically going
home. You're
going to get convicted. You're going to get convicted. And whatever the judge says, it's your first offense. I can pledge for leniency, but, you got to pay me $10,000 up front, which I didn't have. And, you're going to get convicted. So not good news. So my wife, Karen, she's like, I don't want to lose my, the father of my kids. This is terrible. So she goes on the internet. This is in 2000, 2001. Like this is early 2000s when there's no Google, right? So she's going to every county website from Chicago to New York, all the way down. She puts in this guy's name and she finds 3 cases where he had done the same thing to 3 different people. 3. Where he paid on a lease option. He was, and these guys were convicted, all 3 of these priors, right? They were all 3 convicted prior, but there was definitely a pattern of him doing this over and over and over again to people. So we presented that to the lawyer, said, okay, now we have a case. They give it to their lawyer. And when it came to a trial, they never showed up. So it was dismissed. So I actually got out of that because they were ready to pursue until they realized that they were being pursued. They had a track record of doing this before. Exactly. Nothing we could do about that, but I could definitely, get myself out of this pickle. So if it wasn't for my wife at the time, I don't know what would have happened. So the moral of the story is A, never go into someone's apartment or someone's property to collect rent. This is not what you're supposed to do. And if you do, make sure there are more people with you than they have on their side, because you have to have more witnesses than they do. Also, the first person that calls 911 is the winner. I did not know that. And so and again, this is a real story that happened that really shaped my understanding of zero tolerance on collecting rent, the 3-day notice, the 30-day, 5-day, whatever the laws are in that area. You can have, that's why I have property management in place that understand these rules, that don't go into people's property, without the necessary, collateral that Frank would have, the whole family's behind you, and making sure that you're doing things properly and not have, there's a lot of mistakes that I made. And luckily I got out of there without losing my life. I could have easily been shot. It could have been done in self-defense, right? They could have shot me and then saying, hey, the guy attacked me and it was self-defense. I would have been laying there dead and it would have been over. Could have very well happened. So I thank my lucky stars that it didn't go out that way. And I really have not ever told this story on air because I don't want to scare the shit out of people for thinking that real estate can be dangerous, other than it can be if you are not really careful to violate some important rules. Don't go into people's property. And if you do, make sure there's a very good reason and you have witnesses that that will support the reality of what happened, because what was reported that happened didn't actually happen. So it was a series of errors on my part, not the sandwich lease options. In fact, there's now, if you do have a lease option that's sandwiched, there's a way to actually record your position, a notice of interest, so you actually are on record that you have a contract. So that would have been a lot better had I done that, which I did not. A little bit more of a ninja tool that you can implement, but there's a lot of things I could have done better. Listen to my spouse, who had the instinct to say, don't do it. And I was too ego-driven, I guess, to think that anything could go wrong with me. I was too convinced that, I was indestructible. So,
wow.
There's the story.
So I'm just curious, but the gunshots, were they him shooting at you? Is that what?
I don't know. I was running.
So
in
that was
direction.
never. I guess
could have been the what?
Yeah.
Could have been his wife, maybe her cheerleader.
His cheerleader, yeah.
After he slammed
it wasn't in any report.
I'm assuming the kitchen was not a granite countertop. If it came down.
Well, the guy was over 200 pounds easy.
It's not that anymore.
And again, it's a felony over $1,500, right, in Florida. So because it was his property, technically it's his house. Even if he's a renter, it's still his property, and that would be 2 felonies. I would be a felon twice.
Well, wherever they are, we're glad you didn't show up.
So I don't know if you have questions on this, either of you, but
I'm in shock.
Yeah, yeah.
I am too. Thanks for sharing. That's. I don't know if the intent was. Again, you went through a life altering experience, which I can't say that I was in that position ever, and I don't want to be in that position. And it could have went very bad for you. Like you said, you may have still been there curled up like a kid and thumb in your mouth crying in jail.
Yep.
If it's only been 20 years, I don't know what the charge would be, but it goes to show, you say it, ignorance is expensive.
It's very
in this
expensive.
Case, it could have been very expensive.
Could have cost him his life.
It almost cost your life. Yep. Yeah, which is pretty shitty on that. But yeah, I don't ever enter anyone's door, and if you do, rule of thumb is only you and between you and the exit are the only thing there. Like no one should get behind the exit of any situation, because you will be, maybe in a pickle unless you know judo like Marco.
I was very blessed to have come out of that alive for sure. Yep, and a lot of blessings there. Could have been worse in a lot of ways.
Did he get evicted in the end? Did he pay the rent?
Yes, he finally got evicted. He never paid rent. Okay. I got the 15, and then we had to go through eviction after that.
All right. Wow.
And then I had to spend $10,000 that I didn't have to expunge my because I didn't want an arrest record, because I wanted to go for a green card, and you have to disclose if you're arrested on any legal document. And so went to an attorney, paid $10,000. You're allowed to get it expunged one time, and I never planned on getting arrested again. So I used my one time to legally say that I've never been arrested, but
mulligan.
Technically, I have. You get one mulligan, yeah. So it was $10,000 that was well spent, and so legally I can say I've never been arrested, but technically I have.
Wow.
That one time, and I was almost convicted. It went to
the finish
day
line.
that trial by jury, and showed up, and he didn't. They left town. They knew that they were lost. They were going to lose. We had a lot of evidence at that point. We were collecting a lot of data, and we're very lucky. This is, again, before the age of Google, where you could really search for people easily. She had to go into each county individually and really, look for the number, look for the case, She spent hours and hours and hours, and I'm very grateful for.
I think Frank, you and I have to bring Karen some flowers, because we wouldn't have had a coach or teacher if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been no Big Fat Real Estate Check podcast.
That's for damn sure. Yeah, it would have been no Marco teaching anyone anything.
It would have been a really thin
unless
check.
You see two big guys, unless Marco was behind bars, and that was his
Big Fat Real Estate dudes. Big fat dudes.
He'll be in jail in a jumpsuit.
Thanks. Yeah.
And he never wore orange on air.
I'll
tell you that much.
Let's leave it that way. Let's definitely leave it that way. So yeah. So there you go. So through adversity, we rise, right? And I could have made a decision at that point that I'm never doing real estate again, but it wasn't the real estate that was the problem. I was the problem. I didn't listen to my spouse. I didn't listen to the advice that was evict right away. As soon as someone is late, you have to put in the 3-day. You have to constantly put in that pressure. You have to follow the rules, follow the boundaries that are necessary to train your tenants, or your tenants will really train you. And don't go into a property. Don't do anything that's going to really compromise your safety, and let the professionals be the professionals. Don't try to do something that is really going to compromise anything that is going to harm you in any way. So it wasn't to do with real estate that I fucked up. It's my own ego and my own desire to not follow the system and the rules that really put me in that position. So I take full responsibility for that. And that's kind of the lesson that I wanted to teach. Not that real estate can be dangerous, but not following the rules can be. And I don't want that for anyone. And at worst, I can serve as a warning to others. I know, Frank, you have, some horror stories of your own, as does Gabe. And, we all do. And that's kind of part of the growing up process. And again, I'm blessed and grateful for the opportunity to share the story. And hope I didn't scare too many people too much, but this is what happened, and I'm going to share it with you, good, bad, and ugly. And I've never shared it before, and I appreciate you both for prying it out of me. And thanks so much. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And again, like it, love it, share it, and please give us comments. We're over 900 positive reviews right now, which is phenomenal. We're almost at 1,000. Love to get there as quickly as possible, and we can't do it without your help. And again, thanks so much for listening in, and we look forward to the next episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, where nobody dies. Dun, dun, dun. Thanks for listening.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.